Unlawful discharge of a firearm in Arizona, also known as reckless discharge of a firearm, is a criminal offense that involves firing a gun in a manner or location that endangers public safety or property. A.R.S. 13-3107 declares that negligently discharging a firearm in city limits can result in a Class 6 felony. Therefore, someone could face significant fines and a prison sentence if they are convicted for an accidental discharge of a firearm in Arizona, especially if the crime occurred in a residential area, public place, or in any situation where the shot could have caused harm. Gun owners and the general public should understand the intricacies of this law to ensure safety and prevent legal consequences. All Arizona residents should know what qualifies as unlawful discharge, the potential penalties for those found guilty, and preventive measures to help avoid such incidents. By understanding Arizona's regulations surrounding the unlawful discharge of a firearm, individuals can make informed, responsible decisions. A.R.S. 13-3107 classifies discharging a firearm inside or toward city limits with criminal negligence as a Class 6 felony. Still, it is important to know relevant legal definitions to understand exactly what actions can be considered unlawful firearm discharge in Arizona. A.R.S. 13-105 declares a firearm as any loaded or unloaded weapon designed to or easily converted to expel a projectile using expanding gases. Some examples of weapons that Arizona law considers a firearm are handgun, pistol, revolver, rifle, shotgun. However, if any of the above-mentioned devices are permanently inoperable, they may not qualify as firearms. Bows and crossbows do not qualify as firearms because they do not utilize expanding gases. Nevertheless, you should still exercise caution when using them because A.R.S. 13-3101 still categorizes them as deadly weapons. A.R.S. 13-105 also defines criminal negligence as a person failing to recognize a significant and unjustifiable risk that their actions will lead to a certain outcome, constituting a severe departure from the standard of care that a reasonable individual would exercise in that situation. If the prosecution can prove the defendant was negligently discharging a firearm in city limits per the above-mentioned definitions, the guilty party will likely be convicted. This means some examples of unlawful discharge of a firearm can include firing a rifle in a residential neighborhood, shooting a shotgun in a public park, performing target practice with a revolver in an unsafe location, accidentally firing a gun in a crowded area, shooting a handgun during a heated argument. Although the scenarios above can qualify as reckless discharge of a firearm under A.R.S. 13-3107, it is not an exhaustive list. So, you should contact a qualified criminal defense attorney to learn if your unique situation may qualify as an unlawful firearm discharge in Arizona. There are several different types of unlawful discharge, and each can impact the classification requirements and charges associated with the crime. Knowing the following three forms of reckless discharge is important to understand how they may apply to your situation. Discharge in a prohibited area. Discharging a firearm in a location where it is prohibited by law, including inside a municipality's borders and near structures or public areas, is illegal. Shooting with a gun in a busy park or residential area, for example, falls within this category. This type of firearm discharge is forbidden by legislation to keep everyone safe and avoid accidents. Since this type of shooting puts other people's safety in peril in crowded or sensitive areas, you could face more jail time than someone with a first-time conviction of a non-dangerous Class 6 felony. Discharge with reckless endangerment. A.R.S. 13-105 defines acting recklessly as being aware of and consciously ignoring a significant risk, showing a gross deviation from what a reasonable person would do. Therefore, discharge with reckless endangerment entails shooting a gun with carelessness toward other people's safety. Unlawful discharge with reckless endangerment can include, for instance, shooting into the air during a heated debate or firing a pistol in a place where property damage or casualties are likely. Considering this crime puts others in peril, anyone convicted of this felony can suffer more severe punishments. Discharge while intoxicated. A.R.S. 13-105 labels intoxication as being mentally or physically incapacitated to any degree as a result of using drugs, toxic vapors, or intoxicating liquors. Being impaired by drugs and alcohol while unlawfully discharging a firearm can be considered an aggravating factor in Arizona, meaning it can result in a longer jail sentence or higher fines. Due to the individual's impaired judgment and a higher chance of improperly handling firearms, unlawfully discharging a firearm while intoxicated might result in more dangerous scenarios. With this in mind, the judge may be more likely to inflict a harsher punishment if the defendant was drunk or high while committing the crime. The circumstances surrounding the discharge, such as the location, the degree of recklessness involved, and whether the person was under the influence of drugs, greatly determine the charges that can be brought against someone and the severity of the punishments that can be imposed for reckless discharge of a firearm in Arizona. Preserving community safety and preventing significant legal repercussions can be easier by being aware of the distinctions between various types of unlawful discharge. Owning a gun is a big responsibility. You should always take safety precautions to avoid recklessly discharging your firearm. The following preventative measures can minimize your risk of being convicted of unlawfully discharging a firearm in Arizona. Practice safe firearm. Handling some tips that can ensure the safe handling and storage of firearms and help prevent accidents like accidental discharge are: keep your firearm unloaded. Use a lockable cabinet or safe to store your firearm. Keep ammunition stored separately from the firearm. Always engage the weapon's safety lock when not in use. Never handle a firearm under the influence of alcohol or drugs. For more firearm handling safety tips, refer to guides from reliable resources like the Firearm Industry Trade Association. Unlawful discharge of a firearm in Arizona is a serious crime that is usually labeled as a dangerous offense, extending the potential prison sentence to 1.5 to 3 years. There are many circumstances that can result in reckless discharge of a firearm charge, ranging from shooting a handgun as a threat or discharging a firearm in city limits at a prohibited location. Suppose you have been charged for accidental discharge of a firearm in Arizona. In that case, addressing the charge as soon as possible is crucial to increase your chances of achieving the best possible outcome. Secure legal counsel that has experience with A.R.S. 133107 and other statutes surrounding firearms. Jackson White Law's top-of-the-line criminal defense attorneys have substantial experience defending people charged with unlawful firearm discharges in the greater Phoenix, Arizona area. We can provide expert-level guidance throughout the legal process and help you understand your options. Together, we can work towards building the best defense strategy for your specific situation. Call the Jackson White Criminal Law Team at 480-745-1639 to discuss your case today.